Oh, see, now he's got.
I didn't turn the TV on.
Last night, I know, so
I-
The problem was the TV, because
yeah, but see, it's on.
Yeah,
here,
it's
but
just the
still not
TV.
working Right.
but Trent said he could see it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we're in.
Because we're teeny tiny, I forget how to fix that. I didn't have
There,
that.
give it time.
Wow,
Marvel
okay.
technology.
Yes.
Who's that big guy in the red sweater?
That's
It's
interesting.
not Santa Claus. Everybody's standing. We'll start
They're standing.
the Pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. This is a special additional session to the Rochester Redevelopment Commission's monthly meeting. Specifically to discuss the Riverfront Entertainment District, how we might move forward with that, questions that we might have about establishing the body that would control the licensing for that. So again, I appreciate everybody being here for this session. I know that I have a number of questions about the implementation of this, and I'm sure there'll probably be some questions from the crowd as well. So, Michael, would you like to kick us off and give us an overview of what this all entails, please?
Okay, what this is a request for you to establish a redevelopment district. Right now, running through downtown, down from, the upper boundary at the moment is the railroad tracks just out here, down to 9th and Main, then run out 9th all the way to the lake and around the lake. You've got, your maps. And the way that this works is we're using, the creek as, the spine of this project. And the green line is the initial legal limit of 1,500 feet out of the, away from the creek itself, which would be the normal boundary, except that according to law, if we cannot build right adjacent to the creek, then we can move out to 3,000 feet. That's an orange section in this map. We can't build within 75 feet of Mill Creek, therefore the outer orange limit is the top boundary on this. My suggestion, of course, is there's a lot of residential in there, which is not unusual in these cases. Some of the other towns have more residential than they do business. My suggestion is establish the boundary the way the maps show it, but you basically be building down Main Street and out 9th and 14th around the lake. This is for sit-down restaurants. Alcohol has to be consumed on site. The advantage of this is that you get liquor licenses for $1,000 flat out. This is in addition to the quota that each community has given to it by population. So these are extra licenses, if you want to call them that type of thing. You have to have a water course or a lake in order to do this. We've got Manitou. The lake has to be, I believe it's 750 acres, and Manitou 775 acres. So we made it by 25. The creek, although you could probably wade in it 9 times out of 10 without getting your feet wet, still considered a waterway. Cherville actually used a drainage ditch. So that shows you how liberal the interpretation is at this point. The question I'm gonna ask you today is you're gonna define what this district looks like. And what goes into it. And Basically, that's about it right now. The advantage is it's designed for restaurants, designed for sit-down restaurants. Alcohol has to be consumed on the site, as I said, and then you wind up, setting the rules for it, so.
Okay. I guess the question I have for you, and I talked to Andy a little bit before the meeting, just because I don't understand the regulation that establishes this whole process. Does this entire body make the decisions on whether, first of all, we're going to do this? And secondly, the awarding of these licenses, does this body establish a set of rules for these places, per some of the issues that you note here? Can we put a stipulation that says non-smoking? Do we have specific business hours? Things like that. So what defines the body that makes those decisions and establishes those rules?
Okay, that's good. The redevelopment commission will create the district. And then from there, you decide who's going to decide all those questions that you just asked. Some towns, they leave it with the redevelopment commission to approve the licenses. Others have established a vetting committee. Fort Wayne did, like they put their downtown district administrator, a cultural district administrator, their economic development people, a hospitality representative, and city council representative. Other towns have done they throw it to the city council to make those decisions. So those are the things you're going to determine on how this functions. Once you've got all that in place, what happens is if I come in with a license and you guys want to approve it or disapprove it, I give you the application. You decide within a given amount of time what's going to happen. Let's say approval or disapproval, doesn't matter what, you forward it to the mayor. He approves or disapproves. You're making a recommendation. He's making a recommendation to the state alcohol and tobacco board.
Okay.
They make the final determination.
So does this group then bypass our normal county group that reviews licenses, either new licenses or licenses that are up for renewal?
As I understand it, yes. Now, I'm going to defer to Andy on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some time on that one.
Yeah.
I,
Sorry.
as I understand it, okay, is this adds more liquor license availability. Right now, there's none at
Right.
all. Okay, you can't even get a beer one. Used to be that there was at least a beer one available. So there's not even a beer license available. And then you have to abide by the rules of the state.
Right.
Okay, so all we're doing is saying, because of this district, at least this is the way I understand it, because of this district, we're going to add, let's say, 10 more licenses to Rochester. Okay, 10 more licenses, 10 more businesses have the ability under these specific stipulations to get an annual liquor license. Okay, now I know that Mishawaka did it up there, and I mean, that's how they grew their riverfront, because they take the town, and say, this is how many people's in this town, and this is how many liquor licenses are available per capita.
Right.
Okay, and that's how we get our liquor license numbers. And the only way a liquor license comes available is if I decide to let go of mine. I can move mine from building to building as long as I do it according to the way the state says to do it. Okay, I can move out of my building and go to another one with my liquor license and use my building for something else. Okay. And that's the only way to redo the liquor license, which then so now we can now have specific businesses. If that business goes out and is no longer using that liquor license then becomes available to somebody else under those stipulations, which are business type stipulations. Do we want it to be summer only? You know, that,
Okay, Ruth, everything you've said stipulates to the quota liquor licenses, as I understand it. Okay, these are extra quota
Extra.
liquor.
Right, right.
And one thing that's different about these licenses than what Ruth is saying is, well, two things. One, they cost $1,000, period. And secondly, if a restaurant comes in, you get the license, it's there for the duration. And if the restaurant goes away, the license goes away because it's attached to the restaurant and that particular owner. So if I buy the restaurant, it fails, I lose my license, and Guy, then you come in and you open one up, you have to apply for your own license.
Right.
Okay. So that these are extra licenses, basically over and above the quota selection that Ruth was talking about. And they can't be moved from building to building the way that the quota licenses can be moved.
Right. Yeah, I spent a little time in that business myself, so I understand
Yeah.
some of the intricacies of our arcane liquor laws in Indiana.
Well, and here's the other thing too, is Ruth brought up another interesting point. You can determine the number of these extra licenses that you want to do. One town did one in a very specific building, downtown historic building. Madison granted 12 licenses, Hobart and McCordsville 10 each, Nashville 15, and most of the rest of them unlimited licenses. So you control the number of licenses that you want in through the district.
Okay. So once we determine who's going to be on this group that says yes or no and determines our local rules, let's say we decide 10 is the number
Of licenses that we want to.
have available. And Rochester becomes not only the city of friendship and pride, but the city of restaurants and bars as well.
And then we decide,
And then we decide that
hey, there's demand for more.
we can amend.
You can amend this anytime.
Okay,
So why would you set the number then? So why would the number be?
Some towns just wanted to do it that way. There's I think it's Nashville. But one town, actually, the redevelopment commission gives out 3 or 4 licenses. And then they pass the buck down to the city council to give any more licenses. So this gets crazy. I've read maybe a third of the community's programs here, and they are all over the place. That's why you see the questions that I've got here. These all come from questions that are raised here in the existing. So it really does become what you want it to be. You can charge in that next one, the downtown marketing fund. It's an advertising fund for this particular district. And the fees that you see there are annual fees that they charge for that purpose, and it can only be used for that purpose. There's when it's over with, I'll give Andy the ordinances that I've got, and he can ground himself on those if he wants. But you can see what they've done on top of it. A couple of the towns have put in, layered on their own application fees. And then you've still got the state requirement. One of these towns, Cherville, you've got to pay $7,500 up front before anything happens. That's just with the application fee. And then you've got the state with that too. So you're paying the city $6,500 and then another thousand to get this thing rolling, you know, so that's why I'm saying this is all up to what you guys want to do.
So then if we're gonna set up something like that and we're going to do a marketing fund, is that something that, do they work with, our equivalent of our downtown partnership?
That's up to you. How you want it to work is completely up to you. If you want it independent, if you want it controlled by another organization, those are the rules that you're setting.
Okay. So Ruth,
You're tailoring this, I didn't mean to interrupt,
go
guys.
ahead.
You're tailoring this to Rochester.
Okay.
And what you want it to be. You know, you may want to get all these questions answered and then take another session and think. Yeah. It's not simple. It's not all that complicated at the same time, but it's not that simple either.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot to work through here.
Have you called the ATF at all about it or just other towns?
No, I've called the NTF.
And are they willing to come in and verify some questions once we get it to?
I can't guarantee that, Ruth.
I know.
Trying to get hold of them was a monumental task.
Trust me. I know.
They've got everything down there that, that's why I reached out to some of the community to try to find out what their experiences were. And I know our local ATF representative doesn't answer the phone.
No, she's busy.
Sheila?
She's busy. I think they have I don't know. They've got an ungodly number of counties to take care of.
I don't doubt that. I know Okra's in the same boat there. The smoke-free requirements, I think, those were put in before if I understand it straight, the state, you can't smoke in a restaurant these days anyway.
Right, and the way the alcohol works is once an establishment has gone smoke-free, you cannot bring smoke back, which is why Putt still has smoke. And if you have a new establishment, you cannot allow smoke. So,
There's different types of limits here too. Some towns have put a deadline on how soon you have to make your approval along with the mayor, put a deadline on him. Others, they've just left it open. So it's entirely what you guys want to do. There's one town actually threw a revocation clause in that if the restaurant doesn't perform or do up to their expectations, they can revoke the license. There's limits. One town tried to actually limit the number of same style restaurants that can go into the district at any given time. They don't want it all Mexican or Chinese or whatever. So I don't know that that's actually legal, but
Yeah, I don't know if you can say we can only have 5 Thai restaurants in a town, but
in that district,
only
So-
in the district.
So
yeah.
the whole goal to this thing, because I was living in South Bend when they started to do this. And the whole goal was you've got this area that would really bring people to the community. So it's the growth of the community, it's the growth of tourism. It's not really for the people living here. It's how do we bring more people to our community? Well, you offer them more things. And quite frankly, the Riverfront District up in South Bend, just within 4 years after doing this, all kinds of small little restaurants came in. And summertime restaurants and all that stuff, and they're constantly switching out. But they had a good riverfront anyway, because they put a lot of money into their walk path and all that stuff there. So there were a lot of people. Now that gave then people like me the ability to sit down and have a meal or something instead of going into one of the finer restaurants, kind of thing. So that was cool.
Fort Wayne's combined this with they have a cultural district, a downtown district. they have layered it on. I made the mistake of printing, without realizing how many pages I was gonna go through. And it covered an entire bigger notebook than this, with all the layering and everything that went on top. So what it amounts to, it's a tourism thing. It's a, come into town and fix your downtown thing. I started out with the lake initially, but the lake is so overbuilt that it would be difficult. It's also a downtown thing basically, but while we were talking about it at my board of directors, we decided to run it all the way down 9th Street because it just made sense, connect it all. And instead of doing it, I was going to do it in 3 pieces, but we decided that it's smarter to do it in just one type of thing. You know, if somebody wanted to, as crazy as it sounds, they could put a barge on the lake, open a restaurant, and ferry you back and forth.
Yeah, but then you gotta
Get in there with the DNR.
so you don't wanna do that.
Trust me, I know. It's a mess. So really, that's pretty much where we're at. It is just a tool. If you put it in place and you don't like it, you can always take it away. You can amend it over the years, because I think every town I looked at, there's been some kind of an amendment
All right.
to it. Bruce?
Would this include something like, those moving alcohol cards? Mhm.
Not that I know of, and I would say if you tried that, I would talk to ATC and see what they say.
Pedal tavern?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd serve chili or something like that, or chicken soup.
Well-
To open up a pedal tavern.
So Ruth, a couple questions for you from a couple different angles. As a bar and restaurant owner here in town first, how do you feel about us opening up more opportunities for competition with you?
Okay, so since we went through 2020 COVID, okay, it really and our cheese place down there, Snubbletier's closed, right? I understand why they closed, because it's restaurant business. It's that business. If I was making as much money as they were on another business, I sure as a heck wouldn't be messing with, unless they really needed that tax write-off. It hurt Rochester. Okay, it really, really did. They brought in so many people. People would come up to the Evergreen, and I was sent here because of Snubbletier's. We still have good shopping, okay? Because they're still coming from the shopping. And Julie's done wonderful at the theater. I can see Julie needing a license like this so that she doesn't have to mess with, like, for me, that's extra staff for me that I don't have the energy to do anymore. I want to redirect where I'm going. But it's hard to have that extra staff just when Julie needs them, to have that. And it's a carryout license. Okay. And there's a lot of work to keeping up somebody else's bar and not having it in your stop. And so if she could have that there and she worry about that employee or those volunteers or whatever, then that would really help. Food issue would be a thing. Is that a alcohol thing? Is the food, or is that the city?
Some towns have put on limits. You've got to have 50 to 49 food to alcohol sales,
Well, now that's what
and you have to prove it. Others have no limits at all.
Now, when I renew my license, it does ask.
Yeah.
Especially it makes sure that our food and alcohol is comparable. You don't have to sell so much food.
As I've seen it from the statutes, most of the towns have put on that 50/49. Some towns have actually put on, you have to be open. They had to be open 210 days a year. And the same town, they had to be open till 11 o'clock no matter what. It depends on how crazy and how detailed you want to get, really. I noticed one thing that every town, has put in there that, it's gotta be a restaurant, bars, out. Private clubs cannot apply, and adult entertainment is not eligible for a license. So when I say this is something that you make and create yourself, I'm being really serious about that. This is completely what you want to do.
With that said, to carry that on, okay, we didn't have any liquor license in Rochester. And I don't know how the corporations do it, what kind of contract they've made with all of these states. But there is no way I could have opened a wing place south of town. But because it was a corporate place, they were able to. That means TGI Fridays, Applebee's, everybody else can come to this town. But somebody like you that has a fantasy, that has a dream, doesn't have any ability whatsoever. Okay, unless we do something like this. And that to me is huge. Okay. I mean, and I don't know what it is, but it's amazing to me. Every town I've lived in, not that I've lived in a lot, but you know, the average person can't go get a liquor license.
Piggybacking on what you just said, Ruth, the thing about this that's interesting is you're taking charge and directing development.
Yes.
You're telling these restaurants where they can go. So you're in charge,
Right.
and that's a huge plus in any town's favor. Like I said, one town, one license, one very, very specific building, and a whole section of code written for that one structure explaining what it is, and a town of a population of this and a county of a population of that, blah, blah, blah. So it's just detailed, it's how detailed you guys want to go. But the key to this thing is you're directing economic development. It's no longer a willy-nilly thing.
I had two guys in the bar Saturday night that was talking to me about what this town needs. They would love to invest. They've got a place on the lake. And, you know, I said something about, well, we could do ice cream with liquor in it, right? And they were like, oh, I got to come in here on a night that, you know, I didn't go over to the theater and we got to talk. These guys couldn't do this at all. It wouldn't even be a conversation. You know, there are so many people that move to this town that would love to do something if they could. But why? If you can't, if you're limited.
Well, that specific example that you cited happened in Bloomington. There was a woman who, she had an ice cream shop, and we put their downtown district, their riverfront district in. She applied for a license, and now she can sell,
Liquor infused ice cream.
right, liquor infused ice cream.
How about the Mellow Mug doing coffee with their putting a little bit of alcohol in their cappuccino?
Oh.
Right. How about the bagel shop? Well, no, the bagel shop's already doing their thing. I don't know. But you know.
So what I'm hearing from you as a current business owner,
More the merrier.
you're not averse to this.
I gotta tell you, I keep saying, I didn't realize before COVID, I didn't realize how many people from Rochester supported the Evergreen. Okay. I really, in my world, seeing the people in my dining room, knowing where they're coming from, Rochester was not keeping my doors open. Okay. Point blank. It was all from out of town. And, or most of it. There was a certain amount of people that definitely did. During and after COVID, Rochester pulled through and really came out and kept the doors open. Had things not happen as they did, I'm sure the Evergreen would still be here. Because now the people are starting to come out, the tourists are starting to come back, and up until last year, that's how severe COVID hit. There wasn't those people coming from Culver, from Peru, from Logansport, from Plymouth. Now they're starting again. So how do we start bringing them? We got to do something because like I said, Snobble Tears brought a lot.
All right.
Phil?
Well, I guess part of my process here is concerns, I guess, is when you're talking about who governs and we structure that and this and that. And I look down through here and let's say it is the redevelopment commission that, and we're seeing it. I know personally, I don't have time to sit up at night and wonder whether a restaurant 5149 or who's doing the verification, who's doing the legwork to make sure everyone's applying to the rules that we've set.
Well, from what I've seen, Phil, is you have to take it on trust when they apply or reapply for.
They don't go through
If you want to do that,
they don't fill out the same forms I'd have to every year for the ATC.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen.
ATF.
I'm going to make the assumption, and I'm going to go back to Andy on this. I would assume that they would have to, if they're renewing, they're going to have to go back to ATC.
Absolutely.
And
I think they'd have to.
what they've
And
done.
then ultimately go in front of the board.
And then the other thing I would suggest, as this is coming out, is I understand you don't have the time, so create a small group to handle that for
Right,
you.
and that was my
And then
next
let
one.
them make the recommendation back to you, and you're just gonna have to trust them.
Right.
And you can set whoever you want to. There's one of the communities that was all city council and mayoral appointments. They always keep them small, about 5 people tops, to do them. But that takes the burden off of you, and then it also, if you deny one, you've redirected the anger back to your recommendation group. Again, that's totally up to what you guys want to do.
Okay. Joe?
I see this as an opportunity again, like Ruth said, to bring people downtown. And this is for restaurant types only, right?
Yeah, sit down restaurants.
Okay, and I'm fine with that. I know there are some businesses that like to have, come shop with us and have some wine, and they apply for their own liquor license on one day when I didn't know if that would change that or not.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think it's a good idea to draw people to this community, and we need that. And Ruth, it's good to hear you as a business owner in this industry welcome the competition and see the fact that if you have more places for people to come and you draw those people from outside, it will benefit your business. It will benefit a lot of businesses downtown.
And Joe, one point, guys, don't think of this as just a downtown thing. Most of them will probably want to go in the downtown, but think of it as a possibility of a lake thing. Because there's a couple buildings out there they're empty now and they could be used
Definitely.
in that type of way.
Yeah.
So think of it as it's an attraction for Rochester.
Does this include the Save-A-Lot area that would be in this district, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also includes a lot of the runway at the airport.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's not gonna happen, right?
Well, I think imaginatively, it's short runs, stall plane. But yeah, you could, like across from the lighthouse, somebody, you could actually build in that area, things like that. So as a business closes or something, that becomes a new opportunity.
One other question
Sure.
quickly is, earlier I thought you said that once someone establishes that license to that specific structure, but I thought you said in the same breath that that person gets to keep that license.
Mm-mm.
They don't, that individual does
No,
not keep
you
it.
open a restaurant, apply for this license, and it goes away, the license goes away.
Not the traditional ones that
Right.
like Rose had. Ruth has. Those are that way, right?
Yeah, it stays with the building unless I take it and want to transfer it to another building. Okay, it stays with me unless I sell it and give ownership over to somebody else. Okay? So like when we bought the bar, we had to transfer that license over to me. And then I kept it on escrow until I was able to open it. And they keep you can only keep your license on escrow for so long.
Right.
Okay, you can't just have it on there forever and ever. Which I think that goes against that whole theory that churches have by them.
So these are
They have to be used.
what Rose had.
Sorry.
Rose.
Okay, I got to
And these come and go.
Okay.
Andy, do we need to open this up for public comment since this is technically a public hearing?
If you advertise it as a public hearing, yes.
Okay,
One more, okay, one more from Jeff.
One more question. Distances from churches, because I've got the,
200 feet.
and that's the same as.
same as, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this doesn't supersede any
Other
No.
alcoholic beverage commission rules or any state laws.
200 feet from churches or from schools. And so what that does is that impacts two churches. The Tops building at Fifth could not be used because there's a church out behind it. And the church that's up across from the hot dog stand,
Okay.
that cannot, the hot dog stand can apply because it's within the two. Now, the other side of that is, there's the church right downtown. I did the measuring on that. If a streamliner was to be sold, they're more than 200 feet away, so they're fine. They could apply for one of these licenses.
But the Walgreens building that's empty could not.
It cannot.
Right.
Yeah. That's why one of the reasons you may want to change that that north boundary because the church here pretty much takes up anything around here, and you may want to drop down to like 4th Street to put the boundary on that or something along that line.
So we just really need to look at that as a group, once this group's formed. Okay. Andy,
Michael, looking at section 16 and section 16.1, which were in the materials you brought previously. One of the requirements is of an applicant applying to ATC, if we've created this, is they have to demonstrate that their location qualifies.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of those qualifications is within the boundary. The other qualification is the premises has to be within, and then it lists the alphabet soup of areas that this group can do: economic development area, redevelopment area, urban renewal area, economic development project district, or community revitalization. Which of those are most of these groups doing?
The economic, the revitalization district.
Okay, economic.
Yeah. And then, Andy, if you go back through it,
Yeah.
because I went through those, like you said, the alphabet soup.
Yeah.
A lot of those have been repealed.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so if you do the redevelopment district, that's what these are all applying under.
Okay, they're all the redevelopment district.
Yeah.
And then it looks like that process has to happen and as a separate process, but I could see it happening at the same time, the creation of the boundaries of the riverfront district. That is, that has to go to the city council.
Yeah.
And I could see the city council both passing the final ordinance, creating the district, and creating the boundaries for the riverfront area. Okay, that helps.
Here's the other thing too, Andy, is when you apply as a restaurateur, part of the application, you have to submit your application. They have to write a letter to the mayor. Mayor writes a letter of approval or disapproval, whatever.
Okay.
And then the map has to be sent, of the district has to be sent with it. And in most cases, what they're demanding in other cities is, show me the location on the map of where you're going, so that I know you're actually going into the district. So the application is about that thick, from what I can tell. And very detailed. You have to prove it all. You've got to show what you're doing. So there's a lot of checks and balances in it. And it's, it's more complicated than it probably should be, but you want to, you understand. You're an attorney.
The other requirement, as I read through here, is the project boundaries must be funded in part with state and city money. Aside from creating the redevelopment district and creating the project boundaries and asking the council to pass that, I think it's possible to do that without any ongoing responsibility of this board, except to say, here's copies of it. Here's copies of the boundaries for you to submit with your petition or your permit application. And so I'm not sure there would be, once established, a lot of ongoing work necessitating a standing committee. Or am I misunderstanding what the other?
It depends. The standing committee is basically there, as I understand it, to deflect and take away from what do I want to say, time elements that the redevelopment commission would have to come in and consider meetings, special meetings or something if they wanted to do that. Or you submit, are you willing to wait 3 weeks until the next redevelopment commission meeting to deal with it? As far as the money is concerned, as long as you're doing infrastructure out there and using federal or state monies, that qualifies.
Okay.
New sewers, paving the roads.
It doesn't seem to have a minimum.
No,
I know there's something done in that area.
It's just something done inside. A sign, anything like that. As I can tell from other conversations I've had, it's pretty loose on how they handle everything.
Well, and I could see in a larger community where you're getting a lot more of these inquiries and you need more bodies to work with the potential new establishments. Right. I could see that. I don't know, once established, if it's just not something the mayor's office can do and say, here's what here are the boundaries the commission established. I'll sign a letter that's saying I've seen your site, it's within the boundaries.
That's why you have to do the map, and then some of them literally one or two towns, if I remember correctly, they require you to submit a floor plan, interior, exterior design. You have to fix the building up according to existing architectural standards. They can demand anything that they want, honestly. So that fits, with what it is. Like I said, I saw one application was about that thick. And it just depends. I've got some examples of applications I will give you. Take a look at what they require.
Okay.
It's very detailed, or it can be as simple as like McCordsville. They just adopted the statute, and that's their law. So they do what they do.
Okay. All right. Comment from anybody in the audience? Questions?
And I haven't had a chance to really digest all this quite yet, but so from what I understand, the body, the redevelopment commission, creates this. This is as a recommendation to the city council to approve. Is that correct, Andy?
I would say the council creates, if we're talking about the riverfront area, that's created by the council. But this body certainly has a role in bringing that as a package to the council and recommending it, sure.
Okay. I briefly remember what happened with the Dora. When I say briefly, I don't quite briefly remember that, but it was a lot of work with the community as far as just having them to understand the value of why we needed to do that. And so I guess my question is, and I'm not saying I'm against this. I understand, you know, having spoken to Ruth a million times, and really the economic development value is super huge. But our community does not do well without the opportunity to speak into specific things. So in that process, what does that look like for the community to share their insight associated with this subject, so they don't feel like they're being swindled, if you will, because that has been one of the problems associated with Dora, and currently dealing with that with some other things. How do we make sure that the public has some input so that they are able to share in the electoral process and this whole thing?
I would think if the council's going to establish this district, that would be the time for any community members to voice any concerns or opposition or anything like that. What our purpose here today is to determine whether we want to move forward with this whole process. We're not saying here are the rules, here are the parameters. It's just our job today to determine whether we even want to move forward with this. Okay?
Yeah, and I'm, like I said, I'm still digesting all of it to understand the, you know, details of everything, just so we can make sure that we're able to process this effectively. So.
All right. Other input, comments?
I've got a question for Julie. How much food, since food has been brought up, that is something that you have to answer on.
I'd want to know what kind of key, you know, if there's a nonprofit exception, or if we sell a lot of hot dogs. I mean, if we have to do food sales, we would have to work on that. Our sustainability is hidden in our catered bar. I will say that. Every concert we have to find someone with a carry out catering liquor license. And, you know, they sell several $1,000s a night. We work deals, but I mean, within that is, you know, part of our future that we can't, you know, we're shut out from.
And that says a lot. So right now she's using Rumors, because Rumors doesn't get busy until afterwards. So she's very lucky. I can't, because I can't.
She can't.
During that, I can't get ready for that bar. I don't have staff for it. I'm expoing. My people are busy before the theater, because we're serving food. We're more of a food than we are a bar. And so it would be so hard for me, because it's just difficult.
Right. We are more than willing to handle our own. We just legally, you can't do it.
Okay.
And it's an odd feeling to have that many people in a building that you can't properly serve. That being said, also downtown on show nights, Roots Slam and Court Slam. I mean, if this just welcomed a handful more, you know, it's a great thing. We did a post 24 hours ago welcoming the Japanese Chinese restaurant. We just hit 75,000 views on the social media post. Yeah. We were at 66 during the city council meeting last night. Like it's good news to welcome more.
Okay.
And that, you know, it would be a way to nurture a good thing.
I think there's also questions of how it impacts Dora. Would we have to change that ordinance and all that kind of stuff? I don't know. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not for or against. I'm just questioning.
There are a number of towns that are in this situation. They have doors and they have theaters and who want to apply for them. Madison is a really good example. They have 4, and then there's South Bend has got a couple things like that, so it's not an unusual point of view. The recommendation that I've received from pretty much everybody was they need 2 licenses, one for the Dora, one for the restaurant. And call ATC and talk to them directly and get your questions answered, because this is a situation where you don't want to give out bad information by mistake. And you want this to be a positive experience for everybody. So talk straight to ATC, get your questions answered, and then that will tell you what to do. And then, as I understand it, just as an aside, you would have to define your events. What is a Dora? What is a riverfront district event in your place, in the theater? So, the recommendation being call ATC and get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
Well, we can't get anything from them. I don't.
Tell me
Can.
about it.
No, we can't. We don't qualify for any kind of licensing.
Right, yeah, no,
Right.
but I can ask questions.
Okay.
They respond to me pretty good.
All right. Other,
Questions, comments? Okay, nothing coming from the crowd. So I guess what we need to do here as a group today is determine whether we want to move forward with this, establish a committee. Mr. Mayor, you're probably going to be involved with that. I know you're participating here remotely. We thank you for
Yeah,
being
we
here
really
this
need to,
morning.
we really need to, I think we need to table this for another month and just think about some of these things. We need to bring Sarah in. She's been waiting a half hour on this other
Okay.
matter.
Well, what I'd like to do is just entertain a motion to move forward with this, to establish a working group among the Redevelopment Commission, just to explore some of these questions, get some answers. Again, not say yes or no, thumbs up or thumbs down to this today, just move forward, I guess. If that makes sense. Andy, is that something that probably makes sense to do? Okay. All right. So I guess I'll make a motion that we move forward exploring establishing this Riverfront Entertainment District. Okay, moved and seconded. Those in favor? Aye.
any opposed?
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody. Yeah, we do need to move forward. We have a presentation from Retail Strategies, and I'll apologize for the delay in the start here. So good morning.
Good morning. No worries on the delay. I was very interested in the discussion, very passionate about downtowns, and glad to see you guys are too. So, but thank you so much for this opportunity to meet with you guys. Again, I am Sarah Stewart with Retail Strategies. I do have a presentation built out if that is what you want me to start into right now.
Yeah, we're trying to get the volume up, but we're ready to go.
And I can also speak louder if that's helpful.
Yeah, I don't know how we.
Back there, you can't change it. Matt just said we can't change the volume.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can get the volume up on this TV, but
That
that's,
doesn't help, no.
So if you would speak a little bit louder, that would help.
Yeah, I can yell into my computer. Is that helpful?
There you go.
Okay. Hopefully I just didn't rocket out my voice and, bring you guys back to earth. But in any case, let me share my screen. I have a presentation built out. Just give me 1 second to do that. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
yep, we have it.
Okay, perfect. Great. Well, again, I am Sarah Stewart. I'm with Retail Strategies. A little bit about Retail Strategies. We were actually born out of a commercial real estate firm. So our sister company does everything from major mixed-use development to property management to tenant representation, all of those type of things for retail development. And we formed our municipal consulting side around 2011. We were actually trying to build a pretty unique Home Depot prototype in a very rural community in Alabama. And we walked in the mayor's office and he pulled out some dusty, outdated data. And we were like, this is what you got for us? We're trying to build this really cool thing for you. So that was kind of our aha moment. There was like our light bulb went off and said that there is a missing link between commercial real estate and municipalities. So we formed retail strategies to act as the extension of city staff to take a proactive approach to bringing in new retail restaurant opportunities to communities. And through the years, we've just listened to our clients and we've heard different things. So we have launched a downtown platform. We launched a small business support platform. Some of the discussion you guys were having earlier is exactly why retail strategies exist, is to really aid communities in finding the right path for them, whether it's in the downtown or looking at retail corridors. We're heavily involved in ICSC, Retail Live, Main Street America, IDA, ICMA, and NLC. So just very experienced across the country. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is our retail recruitment side of things. So this is a little bit about the process, and I'm going to go into more detail for each of these. But it does start out with a market analysis, really understanding who those consumers are, looking at your real estate assets, then putting together a retail strategy with very targeted prospects that you want to see, that your community wants to see. And then we will go and actively recruit those types of businesses. We also provide ongoing support. So whether it is...
All right. Oh.
Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So whether it is, working with your small businesses or just providing you guys with different resources, that is included in our ongoing support. So I'll kick in starting about the market analysis. So this is how you might view your community. This is what you might say if someone called up and said, well, tell me a little bit about Rochester. Well, here's where we are in the state, roughly 6,300 population. But in reality, retailers don't see or view communities that way. This is how a retailer would view your community. They don't really care about municipal boundaries. I know that's a harsh thing to say because you clearly care about your municipal boundaries. But when I say that is that they are looking at different drive times, different radius rings, because they want to see just consumers. They know that people are going to come in or out of communities, so they want to know who those consumers are. I heard some discussion earlier about out-of-towners, and that is the case for you guys. So when we talk about these radius rings, we're also looking at where do people live? Where do they work? And really understanding those consumers and their buying habits. So we put together what we call a customized trade area. So we don't want to just look at drive times and radius rings. We also want to see, based off of cell phone tracking data, which is one of our data providers we utilize, we can see the people that are coming in and out of your specific Walmart. So let me provide a little bit of context here. So most of us probably have a smartphone. Some of you might have multiple smartphones. It is tracking where you are coming and going from. It is Big Brother. It's very creepy. I can also do a tutorial on how to turn that feature off later. But that information that is being collected helps us really track consumers. So I drew a geofence around the Walmart and was able to see just how far of a reach this Walmart has. So from there, the darker shaded areas of that purple are a higher concentration of consumer coming into that specific Walmart, whereas the lighter shades is a lighter concentration of consumers coming to that Walmart. Typically, when we partner with a community, we're going to spend a lot of time studying this boundary. We might draw several boundaries. We might run multiple reports to say, hey, someone from the Thornhope area is really not coming to our Walmart to shop. Great, let's cut that out and really define who this trade area is. Or you might say, there's a Walmart in a certain driving distance, so we're going to be looking at that to say, hey, this consumer would likely drive to a different Walmart, or they might likely drive to our Walmart, just given traffic patterns and all those different things. So So from there, again, we want to study who this consumer is that is in this red outline. So that is that customized trade area based off that mobile data report from that Walmart. We're also able to rank that Walmart in the state. So it might say how many, a lot of retailers want to know, well, how is that specific store doing? So maybe not even just this Walmart, but other restaurants in town. How do they rank in the state? So we're able to pull that information to share how successful these different stores are in your community. From this trade area, we're also seeing roughly a 30,000 population. So again, you might have said we have got 6,000 people, but in reality, your trade area is much larger, and retailers want to see that type of information. And it's also showing a 62,000 household income, so pretty strong there, above the average, country average. So really strong information about this specific Walmart. Other demographics reports that we typically pull, just key demographics. We want to know, again, in those drive time radiuses, what are the top spending patterns. We want to talk about who those consumers are. So in this top right corner is our psychographic analysis. One of our newest data providers is really interesting. We're also able to look at different people's social media interests. So that also goes into what do they spend their money on, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram or whatever that might be. So we're able to really see that picture. One of my favorite reports we pull is right here in this bottom left-hand side. And it is a sightseer report. So it basically can pull regional businesses and grade them to see how successful they could be in your market. So it's really interesting to see what different restaurants look like, and we can pull all different types in entertainment, clothing, hotel. There's a lot of information we can pull about how successful a store could be based off of other different demographics and different reports and different trends. We are also going to provide a retail outlook. We have different quarterly business reviews, so sharing what information is out there. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but the president of my company sits on the ICSC Board of Trustees, so she's rubbing elbows with the top real estate professionals of all the major national retail chains. And so she's able to really gain information from those meetings that you get direct access to. So all of that data is great, and we spend the first 30 days of our partnership dissecting so much information. There's so many different reports we can pull. I can tell you how much money is being spent on hammers in your community. I can tell you how much money is being spent on men's underwear in your community. There's so much information we have access to, but all of that information is kind of null and void if you don't have the right real estate asset. Real estate is the true driving force behind a commercial real estate transaction. So that is, again, our background, born out of a commercial real estate firm. So we send our team to your community, and they're going to drive the marketplace, and they're going to be looking at different real estate assets. They are going to want to see whether it is a current shopping center, if there's any vacancies, or if there's a pad site available, or just looking at new land to be developed, looking at where other key drivers are in the community so that we can put together this real estate analysis. So we're going to be looking for, again, available property on the market, off the market. We are going to do a fam tour, so we'll ride around with the mayor, anyone else who's very interested in showing us the market, and you might have decades insight on different properties, whether it's someone that's owned the property, it's in a trust, or whatever that might be, gaining that information so we can truly understand what is that true picture of those real estate assets. We're also going to be documenting the parking of these different sites. Every single retailer knows exactly how many parking spots they need to be successful. So it's a huge part of our real estate analysis. We're also going to be looking for the signage and visibility, the co-tenancy. A lot of times you'll see a Home Depot and a Lowe's and a Walmart all within driving distance, 2 minutes away from each other, because they are co-tenants. Or you might see a TJ Maxx and a Marshalls. Well, and they're usually next to a Target. So we see that because they know that they can be successful when they're next to their co-tenant. So we're going to be looking at different businesses that are already established. And again, looking at those existing retailers. So we want to know what the picture is from a real estate perspective. And again, the last thing we want to do is to cannibalize any type of business. So we're very cognitive of knowing where other businesses are in the market. So again, looking at different redevelopment opportunities, land for development, existing spaces. So this is actually one of our clients, Warsaw, Indiana. You can see those little green dots. This is what we were cataloging those different real estate assets. So in our computer program, we put a dot down, then we list all of the different details about the specific site, and saying we know we want to target these specific sites. So that's how we catalog those in our program. While we are in town doing our FAM tour and our site analysis, we are also going to have what we call our Recon Day in Rochester. So this is a stakeholder session. Earlier, there was conversations about we want the public to be able to say what they want to see in their community. This is the time that we get to hear from them, pairing that data, pairing our real estate analysis, and then hearing from your community to see what would be successful. What do they want to see in their community, or what do they not want to see? I want to be able to make sure that we're planting a business that is going to be successful, that your community is going to support. We are also going to present some of our market analysis in a very formal setting. That way, the public knows exactly what the information that we get to see and share that with them so they understand why we might target certain businesses. This is also an opportunity for your local small businesses to gain access to this big data. We also will host meetings with them specifically if they have, a local restaurant wants to see some information about how many consumers are coming to their business. We want to give that to them. We want them to have access to it so that they can then and create a new business for themselves. I use this example a lot, and the mayor and I talked about this one. Sometimes we'll see a local hardware shop and we'll say, hey, if you increase your selection of hammers, you might have more people coming in. As long as you're promoting that you have a bigger selection of hammers or whatever it might be, you can then say, create more opportunity for business or for business inside of your own community. Again, we also do that windshield tour, really trying to understand the dynamics in the community. And so from there, we come back to headquarters and we put together a retail strategy. So this is saying based off of our market analysis, based off the real estate assets, and then based off what your community wants to see and who is actually expanding in the region, we put together a retail strategy that says here are businesses we should target for each of these different corridors. So we're going to do a retail corridor analysis, looking at the bigger picture, and then diving into specific sites on those different corridors. So these are screenshots from one of our other clients. I think it's one in Iowa, but really looking at these different sites and saying, here are our recommendations for what businesses could be in these different sites, and really understanding what are those challenges for entry for those businesses, whether we need to talk about incentives. So that might be something we talk about to really offer to those businesses, or maybe that's not something we want to do, or whatever the case might be. So this retail strategy is presented to our stakeholders. You get to have approval on it. So I use this example a lot of the time. If you say, hey, we've got a really great local pizza shop that just opened. Okay, great. We won't add pizza shops to our prospect list. And so you do get approval of that. And so we can cross them off our list and then add in something that's more beneficial for the community. So one of the things that's very crucial is understanding that site selection criteria for those top retail prospects. So we do share that information with you guys. One of the biggest asks I hear in every community is, we want a Chick-fil-A. Well, here are the things that you have to accomplish in order for Chick-fil-A have, as they have said, this is how we can be successful in a market. So they have the site selection criteria. We do have access to that information. We can share that with you for your specific retail prospects so you understand why a business should locate based off of this information. We also want to know who is expanding in the region, because the last thing we want to do is spin our wheels going after a retail prospect that is not in expansion mode. A lot of times we hear from communities, oh, we really want an Applebee's. Well, is Applebee's actually expanding in the region right now? Well, let's look at that. Because again, if they're not expanding in Indiana, then there's no sense in going after them. Let's find a better prospect that is expanding that would be successful in the market. So we also put together site packages for those specific retailers to present to them, showing them the opportunity in Rochester. And that's when it comes into that active recruitment. So this is the team that would be dedicated to your community, proactively recruiting these retail prospects that we've identified. So Michael Warsaw actually came from commercial real estate. So he has broker deals. He understands the process. He has a deep Rolodex of connections, and he is your portfolio director. So he would be working directly with you and the mayor, and really saying, here is our path and our direction. He is backed by Jimmy, who is our retail development manager. He is going to be calling on those retail prospects, again, has a deep Rolodex and is able to build relationships if not already established. Ashton Rosen, one of our smartest guys I probably have ever met in my entire life. Truly, he brings so much to the table on our communications coordinator. He also does a lot of data analysis, works on a lot of our AI stuff that we're working on. So he's really able to break that down and be able to communicate that to you guys. We're also backed by our marketing team and our leadership team. So you guys get a true staff dedicated to bringing in retail to Rochester. And this is where we sit. So in the middle of calling on local brokers, commercial developers, working with community leaders, calling on those retail and tenant reps, as well as those property owners, and connecting the dots saying, hey, we think you could be successful in Rochester. What's it going to take to get you here? And then reporting back to you on what is said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We also attend retail trade shows, so the ICSC conferences. The biggest one is in Vegas every May. It is truly the Super Bowl of all retail trade shows. It is a million square footage of conference space, 30,000 people attend it. So it's a lot of work, but it is truly the Super Bowl. And also very specifically for you guys, there is a Retail Live Indianapolis show that started probably 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember exactly. We attend that trade show on your behalf, connecting with those retailers, developers, brokers, and again, reporting back to you on what is said. As I mentioned earlier, Lacey Beasley, the president of my company, sits on the board of trustees. So we have a lot of insider intel that we are able to provide to you as well as different things change and happen in the retail real estate community. And so that reporting and coaching, communication is extremely important. We know partnerships thrive off of that. So we have a client management software called Basecamp. It's a web-based platform. So as your team grows, as our team grows or changes, we are able to keep everything housed in one area. So if you add to your city staff and they say, hey, I want to get caught up on all the things that are happening retail strategies, they can log in and see all of our data, all of our retail plans, all of our QBRs, all of the data, all of our communication. So everything is housed there. It's also going to include our quarterly business reviews. So each quarter, we're going to sit down and really go over every single thing that we see nationally, regionally, locally. So giving you guys all of that information in a true quarterly business review. And then regular updates are also provided into Basecamp of what is being said with our conversations with those retailers. I know I talked a lot, so I apologize if I've gone over my allotment of time, but I am here to answer any questions. I'm happy to go back over any slide, but please ask questions. This is, I love to have open dialogue with communities.
Thanks, Sarah. This is Guy Bigler. I'm the president of the Redevelopment Commission. You talked a lot in your presentation about, major retailers. We talked about Applebee's, we talked about Home Depot and Walmart. I guess my question is, what can you do? What services can you provide to our local small business owners?
Correct.
The people that are here today, how do you or can your firm help them grow?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier about we can tell you how much money is being spent on hammers or whatever type of service or good it is. We can look at that information and try to tell, whether it is a home ownership store, whatever it might be, saying, hey, this is different data that we can provide to you on how you can grow your business. We do have a small business support platform that's completely separate from everything we talked about today. So I'm happy to go into that. But specifically in this partnership, we provide a lot of data and we can even work with those local small businesses to say, hey, maybe you're doing really well, or maybe they are not doing well and we can say, hey, we think you could do XYZ. One of the things that we see that is the hardest for local businesses or local entrepreneurs is they pick bad real estate. So they don't understand. They just see a piece of property and they're like, hey, this is really cheap. I have this great idea. I want to start a business. Not realizing that that real estate asset is not the best for their business. For example, a coffee shop. A local coffee shop, typically we want to see in our downtowns, but we sometimes will see them go on the major national highway, which is great too. Especially if you have a drive-through, you can, people whip in and out for work. Well, sometimes they might pick the PM side of the road. So the opposite side of the road where people are traveling in to work. You might have heard that term before, or you may not have, but there is an AM side of the road and a PM side of the road. And that's something that we do study because we know whether it is a coffee user or a grocer, they have very specific ways that they want to look at those traffic patterns. So a coffee user should be on the AM side of the road so that a consumer can go one right turn into that coffee shop and one right turn out and get back onto their way onto the office. And vice versa for a grocery store or something that is a PM type of business, like a sit-down restaurant. They want to be on the PM side, so one right turn in from the road, one right turn out to get back on their way home. So we really do work with local businesses to understand their real estate asset. And again, if it's a local broker, we can work with them to fill their vacancy. There's a lot of different resources that we will be happy to provide to those businesses.
Okay.
And another thing, I know, I think the restaurant that's was talking earlier about who those consumers are coming in and out. We can draw a geofence around any restaurant to say, hey, yeah, you are pulling from a huge area in the state. And so maybe they can then direct their marketing or advertising or whatever they choose to do. We can do that for a boutique. We can do that for a hardware store. We can do that for an ice cream shop. We can do that for anything. So we can provide to them where their consumers are coming from and who their consumer is, their personality type, where do they like to spend their money, how do they spend their money. We might talk to a boutique owner that isn't doing TikTok selling, which is huge right now. I don't even have a TikTok, but I know about it. So we might tell that local boutique, hey, you really should look about starting a TikTok or increasing your influence on social media. So there's a lot of different things that we can provide to local businesses. And now I feel like I'm rambling, so I apologize.
Questions?
No, I'm good. I think I could see the vision.
I'm good. I'm glad you asked the question about helping local small businesses that are here. I think that's very important that we help them grow as much as we can, as well as attract new businesses. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, Sarah, is there a community our size that you've worked with that you could show us some of the results?
Absolutely. That's usually the first question I get asked. So I was surprised that it was the second question I got asked. So this one is one of my favorite examples. It is bigger than you guys, so I apologize. I do have some other ones that are smaller and more comparative size-wise, but I use this one a lot because Cookeville, Tennessee at the time, they were just letting retail happen. They weren't really pursuing any of it. And I think at the time when we first started partnering them, they were much smaller. I think their population has grown significantly in the last 10 years or so. But Cookeville was trying to entertain an industrial type of business. And that CEO flew in on his private jet to visit Cookeville, and they flew on the private jet to go to another city, and we're comparing where they were going to bring in or land their next location, their industrial plant. Apparently the story goes in the evening, after visiting both communities, the CEO's wife said, I can't imagine living in Cookeville. They don't have the amenities that I would like to have, or the amenities for the people that we are going to have work at our plant. So Cookeville lost out on this prospect. And so they said, well, we got to focus on retail. So they hired retail strategies, and we had, this was a very long partnership. I think it took 5 years, a huge P3 partnership, but we ended up putting together this very large development. There's actually some before and after pictures. The before, it was like vacant land, overgrown trees, a ditch, The vision was hard to see, but we saw that this land was great for a really great development. So it was anchored by an Academy Sports and had a bunch of other regional and local brands. So they really got to see a lot of job creation through this as well, not just in those retail businesses. So that's one of my favorite examples to share, just how retail does play into other parts of your economic development strategy. Another community is Taft, California, so a little bit closer to your population range. We partnered with them in 2018, and one of their biggest things was attracting a grocer. So this grocery outlet was a huge, huge win for them. A lot of times, grocery is a hard line to cross. There's margins are so small, and so there's a lot of that goes into bringing in a specific type of grocery. But we were able to use our mobile GPS data to show them that this town of roughly 9,500 people brings in more than 2,300 people throughout the day, making it a much more attractive market to grocery users or other retail users. So they turned to us, and so we brought in several different businesses. And then another one, Lake City, Florida. This is actually off of the interstate, and we really saw how much one little spark changed the trajectory of Lake City, Florida. So we started by really looking at that Highway 90 corridor and then really expanded that reach. And so they now have seen even more retail came in even after our partnership ended with them. So I think we partnered with them for like 9 years. So they continue to see wins, and we're still really good friends with them. So here's a few of those businesses that we worked with. And the economic development coordinator there said it's worth the investment. It was truly a no-brainer for him. Plainview, Texas, and I can stop if you've gotten the point, but I can keep going.
So I guess I have a couple more follow-up questions.
Yeah.
There's talk, and there's some of us in the community that believe that we could use an additional grocery store, for example. I mean, we pretty much have Walmart and Kroger here in town today.
Mm-hmm.
Is part of what you could do for us looking at that and telling us if our assumption is correct?
100%. That is truly the backbone of the partnership. We have so many communities. I used the Chick-fil-A example earlier, or communities that will say, we think we could do a Trader Joe's. Well, Trader Joe's site selection is you have to have a certain number of like a higher concentration of higher degrees. So if you don't have a ton of doctorate degrees in your community, that's just not something they're going to be looking at. So we can look at that site selection criteria. We can look at these other data points to say, yes, you could sustain a third grocer, or technically Walmart's not considered a grocer, they're general merchandise, but I digress. So we would work with you to say, yeah, you could 100% sustain another grocer, or no, not right now, or hey, we need to see these types of things change in the community before we think it's the best path. And then some communities say, hey, we would just really want to hear what does a regional chain look like for us, and so we'll work with you to determine that path.
Okay. And so the ask from your company, as I understand it, is a 3-year commitment at a cost of $45,000.
Yes, sir. We typically ask for that 3-year engagement, because this does take time. We don't want to just plant seeds and then walk away after a year, because retail does take time. For a real estate transaction, from the second the retailer decides to come into a community, it is still going to be 12, 16, 24 months before they might actually come. And that's just their process. That is commercial real estate, whether it's a national chain or a regional brand. They typically have a 3 to 5 year outlook. And so they have their plan. And our job is to say to them, hey, you need to look at Rochester. Again, all of these retailers have access to information and data, but they don't have access to is that real estate asset. So we're going to try to paint that picture to that retailer saying, hey, you will be successful in this market. Here's the site that we've picked out. It matches your site selection criteria. Where are you in your expansion mode? Can we include them sooner rather than later? And they might say, hey, this is a market we've overlooked. We actually do want to be there. But it's, we might be slated for the 2027 timeline. So again, retail takes time. A Dunkin' Donuts typically has a turnaround of 9 months. Smaller footprint, smaller store, construction's a little bit different. Whereas a grocer, those are typically 3, 5, sometimes 10 years. So we do want to set that expectation. You can exit out of our agreement at any time. There is no penalty. It is set up on just yearly installments. And so that's how we have that structured. We understand sometimes priorities change, budget change. Sometimes there is a natural disaster and funding's changed, and we understand that. So you can exit out at any time.
Hey, Sarah, remind me, is that 45 a year or for 3
Correct.
years?
45 each year.
Yeah.
Does that also include, when you were talking earlier about a different division maybe you have in your company, would this partnership be catered also to our small hometown stuff, retail stuff, or would that be an additional amount of money to help cover that?
Yeah, great question. So everything that we have talked about today is included in this price and in this partnership. We do have other partnerships that we can talk about that can be added on. Our small business support platform is an online resource tool. So again, we can talk about that, but no, everything that we have talked about today is included in this partnership.
So just to be clear, so the information to our current local small businesses is included in this package,
Correct.
and helping them, showing them how they might grow. It's
Correct.
included in this package without the additional.
Yes, sir.
And great presentation, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted you guys to see this in here. I think Michael has worked with a company called Placer AI. I think from what I found, they do mostly data analysis, not necessarily going out and trying to attract retails that fit the bill we need. I was just very impressed. This is the third time I've talked with Sarah, actually maybe the fourth time, but third time I've heard this presentation. I wanted you guys to see it. We don't have to make a decision today, but I think I'd like to have a discussion in February meeting and see what your thoughts are after thinking about it for some time.
Yeah, Trent, I agree. I guess what I would ask is, Sarah, could you, excuse me, go ahead and forward a copy of the agreement to us so that we can take a look at it. We can have our counsel here, Andy, take a look at it as well. And then that'll give us some time before our next meeting at the end of February, where always the last Wednesday in February for this group. That would give us some time to digest some of that information and make a decision on the disbursement of those kind of funds.
Absolutely. I can send this presentation over as well, so you can go through and kind of look at the information, some of the other success stories, and really dive into it. Happy to do that. And I can also send over that agreement for review. We're really flexible. We work with city governments. We understand the policies and practices that go into place. So if the attorney has anything that he wants to see changed, just redline it, and we can definitely work through that.
Sarah, do you have contact information in this packet, or because I can't really seem to find a email
I
address
can
or
include
phone
that.
number?
Yeah, I can include that. I don't think that it is included, but I will add that to this presentation and send that over to the mayor, and he can forward out. Or if there's a certain email address that I should send it to, I'm happy to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much
for the
thank you so much for the opportunity. It was great to visit with you guys, and hope you have a great rest of your day. Hopefully, you are all staying very warm. It's even really cold where I am in Alabama. The mayor probably here in Florida, so you're probably doing great right now, but the rest of us are freezing. But thank you all.
Welcome. Thank you.
It's extremely cold down here. It's 40 degrees this morning, so.
What?
Yeah. Oh, terrible for you.
Yeah, feeling bad for you, Trent. Feeling really bad for you. All right.
All right. Thanks.
Last thing that I had on the agenda that unfortunately I failed to send out to the group, send them everything else, but not the agenda, is we need to decide if we're going to allow remote participation. For instance, Todd is out of town today. I travel a lot for my job. So we need to decide as a body if we're going to allow remote participation for somebody to Zoom in or, to Teams in, or even just join via phone.
You want to make sure that you have a quorum so they can vote. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So,
We can have a resolution for you next time. And state law allows it, but only if the body has passed a resolution adopting it.
okay,
And now I clarify as to telephone. The resolution would require participation by video. So someone
Okay.
with a telephone can't count towards quorum, but if you pass it, there's some limitations on it. I won't get into the details or the weeds on it, but if you adopt a policy, then if one of you is traveling and can participate via a Zoom style video conference and the public can see that, then that person can be counted as quorum, full quorum, and they can vote. I think it has to be a minority per year. Like you can't do it 11 out of the 12 meetings. It gets problematic at that point. But and the city council has already passed one of those. But in looking at it, we don't think that your body has ever passed one. So
No,
We should.
we've never seen one.
I think we should. So if you draft that resolution, Andy, we can take that up at the next meeting. Okay, now comes the time. Input from the group.
I thought that I had spoken yesterday. Stephen Williams has a brief presentation
Oh,
that he has actually presented both to the sidewalk committee and to the park board, that we would have him present so that you could start thinking about it. It's a project that I believe Ruth might be his new best friend on, associated with something she's been talking about for a very long time. And very excited that Stephen had presented. So if you may, just give maybe 5 minutes if that's allowable. I know we're a little over time, just so Stephen can share that.
yeah, I'm fine with that. Rest of the group, okay? Sure.
Well, with Amy, I don't need to introduce myself. So here's my idea that came about. I've been thinking about this off and on for several years, and presented it to just roughly presented to the previous mayor, and then just moved on. So if you look at the first, I believe in yours, it's the first picture. That's going to be what. So this idea is about pedestrian safety, getting from the Faith Outreach B&K area over to the beach and the pavilion there on Lake Manitou. So the very first page, if you look at that, that shows the actual walking distance and the path that they would have to take to get to the beach from that Faith Outreach B&K intersection. So it shows up top right. It's 0.4 miles, takes about 10 minutes. I imagine if traffic's a little faster, it'd probably take less time. But the idea was how could someone get over to the beach, to the pavilion, to the butterfly garden safely? And my idea on the second page is constructing a new pathway. So currently down Lakeshore Drive, there is a sidewalk on the south side of the street, which eliminates that roughly 1,000-foot that would be needed for a sidewalk. So all you would need to be doing would be constructing a sidewalk from Lakeshore Drive over to the pavilion, which is roughly 700 or so feet. The only obstacle would be Mill Creek, and that would require, of course, building a pedestrian bridge. So later on in your the other papers in your handout shows quotes that I'd received. This is just preliminary. I know there's several places that are local that I could definitely get a more reasonable quote from. But just for rough numbers, I got a hold of this company and told them I was looking at a 4 or 5 foot bridge, about 50-foot long span that would get us from one side to the other of Mill Creek safely. I think the actual span is less than that, but this would develop enough room to have good footing for the bridge. So you can see that their quotes there range from 43 to 47,000, but that's just a pedestrian bridge with like mesh type flooring so that any debris or anything could fall and eliminate any safety hazards there.
Similar to the one that is on the other side.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
the one that sometimes my dog will look at and hesitate going over, which is fine. I mean, she makes it, right? But it's
Yeah.
not that bad. But I would just want to make sure that's.
Yes, it'd be very similar there on the Woodlawn path. This again, the preliminary numbers for that pedestrian bridge has an ADA compliant handrail, plus also safety sides to individuals from, well, I mean, you could always go over the top, but you know, is what it is. So again, my thought on the trail would be just a simple asphalt poured trail from Ewing to the landing of the bridge, and then on the other side from the bridge around to the pavilion there at Lakeside Park. So
4 foot wide, 6 foot wide, what?
So for the bridge, there's two quotes there. One's a 4 foot, one's a 5 foot wide.
Right. And what about the path itself?
Path could be whatever you're choosing.
Okay.
So, and I would suggest that whether it's, I mean, I would highly anticipate you want to do an asphalt. But with the city moving their mowers and stuff across that area, I would suggest it be in the ground and flush with the top of the soil, just so we're not replacing mowers and sidewalk at the same time. Not that would happen.
Do we know who did the bridges at the golf course? We're
not sure.
We'd have that somewhere.
Dwayne would probably, I would assume Dwayne would probably have that information.
Okay. All right. I just, as a source for another.
Sure. Yeah.
Another quote. I think it was actually done by that firm that's just outside Manchester. East of Manchester on 14 there. Or, 114. Well, okay.
And so, Brian, as a point of reference, when presenting to the sidewalk committee
had delayed the conversation regarding putting financial support toward it, not because they didn't agree with the project, but mainly because the money that they have, they'd like to put towards actual sidewalks that need some repair. So that was what that conversation, the park board loved the idea. They did indicate that they may be able to put some money towards it. But the thought process that we were having was maybe prior in a conversation in December, you were looking for projects to put money towards. This may be something that, if the will of the redevelopment commission would be to potentially put some financial support towards that may be helpful to move that forward. Maybe in a partnership with the Parks Department, if you will, if it's something that would be a project that would be helpful for this year.
Yeah.
You might.
This is outside our TIF district. Can we still fund a project that's outside the TIF?
I'll look into it.
Okay.
I think as long as it has a benefit towards the TIF district, I know that's what has been like the stretch. I don't know if that would qualify for this or not, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely worthwhile. Because I've been approached by people about a bridge over Mill Creek. And how do you get there if you are out for a walk? I don't want to walk all the way down Ewing and then walk along the highway. There's no sidewalk there.
Like chicken with the traffic as you're going across.
Yeah, I got to do that twice. So, I think it's really a viable project. I think it's a good thing.
I love the project. I think maybe.
That way.
Right.
So Kim Landis and I walked, because this area almost reaches one part of the lake that is landlocked with our golf cart.
Oh,
Okay, so the one thing that I think, and you know, it is that forward thinking yeah, a walk path is great, but does that provide everything that we're trying to do as a community? So should we do a walk path, a cart path? Right, so is it wide enough to do both? And then what would it take to do both? Instead of just one or the other, because that really is landlocked over there.
Yep.
You've got, I mean, anybody that lives over there, they're so close to the dam. But are they gonna walk? And then if you want to take a golf cart, how much nicer is that? And can you come to downtown? Well, that's the whole purpose of that.
Yep.
To get the golf cart, to get people to want to come downtown.
Yep.
And then, so let's start thinking of all the trails, the new things. Is it going forward enough? Is it going far enough into the future for our community?
I would approach the
I
Lake
would say
Manitou.
that-
I would approach the Lake Manitou Association too, about helping to fund that.
Yeah. So we need to get together with Kim too
Yep.
and see.
Yep. I had not thought of a golf cart path
Right,
added to it, which wouldn't take that much more
right.
to widen everything. So,
Yeah,
yeah. And this, so the location that I'd kind of picked out, if you can visualize, on the east side of Mill Creek, there is kind of a wooded area. And so this pathway would be on the roadside, the highway roadside of that wooded area. So that gets you far enough away from the dam to where Army Corps and all that shouldn't mess with you, but you're also not messing with the highway, so the state shouldn't. I think Eric had mentioned that possibly the DNR would have or want to have some type of say in it, but other than that, I would think.
As somebody that lives in that area and walks his dog that way, yeah, this is a great idea. You know, I think you have people in the Mantle Heights area that would definitely use that.
Yep.
Safety wise, I think you would get more people at the beach.
Yep.
So yeah, great idea. And I guess we need to check into see if
Guy, the statute has the standard that yes, you can spend outside the TIF area as long as project improvement or purpose directly serves or benefits the TIF area. So
Well, it would enhance access to downtown for carts and, okay.
the answer is yes.
All right, so that hurdle is cleared.
I think we also need to do a little, I mean, I personally don't know, and I've built lots of trails in northern Indiana, but I don't really know all the details on what's allowed for walking trails and or cart at the same time.
Sure.
I think we need to look into that a little bit too. Because when to me, we're talking about two different things. When you do a boardwalk over Mill Creek, it's gonna be way different for a cart than it is for walking.
Right. Yep.
And you're talking a difference of $50,000 to $500,000. I mean, so that's what I think we're talking about two different things if we include carts along with this, what you proposed.
Okay.
I think the least, like, it was helpful for the safety. I think that if, for Ruth's perspective, she wants to shoot for the moon, you know, I think, you know, if we can, that's great, but landing in the stars is also great for folks.
Yeah, or what you could build out to that and thinking ahead, okay, well, potentially we could expand this in a 10-year plan, you know.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think
It's good. Where do we need to go next with this then for you?
I have no clue. That's why I'm coming to you.
Whatever you guys are willing to allow, maybe Ruth as a.
Yeah, I'm willing to, I'll get with you.
Sure.
And definitely expand the whole concept of walking and trail, because customer told me, you know, because I was like, okay, you know, because people really do want to see the lake more accessible to downtown with all funds. Okay, so how do you create that trail? And we have walking trails. Well, you know, something that they said is, if the city owns the property, why can't you just build another road right beside it? And this one is walking and this one is for, you know, like in front of the very end of the trail down there with, in front of the fire department, right? So here's the walking trail. Let's add in more for the, you know, is that such a difficult thing or a concept to do? So yeah, we need to check into that. And boy, that just came from somebody just because we were sitting there talking. And it might be a great idea and maybe a solution to a lot of the issues. Sounds pretty cheap to me.
But I think if,
And then you'd want to have someone, consulting firm or somebody, you know, a licensed engineer would have to do, legally would have to give us a proposal
Sure.
for this.
Right.
Because this isn't something we're gonna go out and say, okay, hey, go build this, you know, it's gonna have to
Well, look how long it took us to finish the other. Okay, so at least we're continually
be. I'm on
talking.
board if we do that. If this is a 15-year commitment, I'm out.
Yeah, yeah.
I would hope not.
Yes, absolutely. We got more yesers. Yeah,
Well, Ruth, if you're gonna
yeah, I'll definitely.
coordinate for the group, that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think it's a great proposal.
Well-
Board's on board with it too. They're really
Yeah.
excited
And the
about
sidewalk
it.
So,
committee as well.
Lake Association, like the mayor said, if you reach out to them, maybe by then we can rediscuss this in a month and have a little more.
I will take it on. I will call David Heidi
Okay.
from the Lake Association, see what they might be able to contribute to something like this.
Sure. Well, and with Ruth's point, I think if we can try and build it out, because walking paths, if people have golf carts, they're gonna drive them on the walking path as is. So we
Yeah.
might as well try and make them, if we can, make it as stable and
Yeah.
increase the longevity as much as possible.
Are you okay with me sharing this presentation
Yep,
with the Lake
definitely.
Association?
Yes,
Okay.
I was going to have you a colored picture,
That's all right.
but we were having some technical difficulties.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. In winter, everything's black and white.
If nothing else, within the next month or so, we could at least have a decision with all the entities and, you know, in our budget, have some sort of engineering fund to where we could do some preliminary plans and send
Sure.
it out to someone, and then at least we'd have a scope and a direction and.
Yep.
Yeah, and even on the map, I guess, my question would be, and Phil, you've done a lot of this, you know a lot more about this stuff than I would. Would it make more sense to bring this farther down here? What are our setbacks? What do our setbacks have to be from the dam?
See, and that's where the licensed engineer, they're gonna have all that.
Yeah.
Every
Need to be
red
far enough
flag.
down, we don't need to get with the Army and the Corps of Engineers.
I'm sorry?
Need to be further down so that we get away from the.
Yeah, because the project would immensely go up in price.
Exactly.
because of how-
But that's what I'm saying is, how far back, can we mitigate our cost for the trail if we use more street?
Right.
How do we get down to 0 foot?
Well, if you look just on the map, if you look where the word Mill Creek is,
Mhm.
on the right side of that, that's where that wooded area is.
Okay,
So, I guess I'm not sure how far that wooded area goes towards the dam, but
all right. Well, I'll look at that.
I think we
eliminate
But we got a lot of ways to go towards the street if we have to.
Yes.
To get away from the dam.
and also
Yes.
there are, if you go out and look, there are two different terrains. The closer from this point, you go closer toward the dam, and then that river bottom. I don't know if it joins in or if it just is absolute separate, but
Okay.
this does not involve that river bottom area.
Okay.
So
All right, that's great. That's great.
I for that, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.
yep.
Thank you very much. Julie, anything you'd like to share?
We're at, one thing our DP's doing this year too is working in a lake, like a light version into our marketing, which we are going to be pitching to Mr. Heidi, which he knows about this soon.
Okay.
Like Mantel sign, the historic one that used to be at the courthouse. We've about got all the bids done on that. So that we're working on that, so it's a good year. I want to get on next month's agenda if I could. We've donor has come to the theater group and we'll collaborate, RDP, etc. But $100,000 cash donation. I've already met with Community Foundation. We need to find ways to leverage that money. And Charlie, I was going to reach out to you too. That big of a donation, surely there's some matching monies out there, and we've got a plan. We've got another meeting with Community Foundation mid-February, so we'd be ready to really explain and talk about it by next, if we could do that, and get ready for some sushi. March, I'm hoping early March, maybe mid-March. The equipment delays are done, or build outs are done. So the rest is the fun stuff. New festival May 2nd, but I can catch you up next month on
Okay.
the rest of it if that sounds good.
Be on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, great.
Charlie, anything?
Just real quick. Sorry, my voice decided to leave me right when you called on me.
Yeah.
The industrial building at 1400 Wabash, was on the market. It's been purchased. We've met with, the owner and toured the facility. He's not gonna be the user of the facility. He's gonna look for tenants to lease it to. I think we're gonna see physical improvements both inside and outside that building. It's gonna be more marketable.
That's great.
That's the old Safeway building, right?
Which is it?
Safeway building.
I think that's right.
Yeah, the bleachers. Yeah. The purple, the Barney building. Granddaughter
Everyone
saw it
read
one time.
this. It was painted like, or a dark gray, and that's what dark gray will look like in 20 years.
Yeah.
Pick your paint color
I
as
just
well.
want to say it's the one north of Kearns building. That's the other way to describe it.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mayor, anything?
Nothing, President. I just did reach out to CS Solutions, JD Taylor. We worked with him a year and a half ago in the Putz building. We're gonna try and get a schedule, evaluation probably in May with maybe a potential contractor or two to do what we talked about, demolishing the east half and so forth. We've been through all this. I'll talk to you more about that in February. We've not got a date set for that to happen.
All right, great. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone up here?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
See you, Matt.